Akademiks can't ride no wave.
Just now. What was I gonna watch? It's either Vlad.
There's a lot of word on the street that the Breakfast Club's overall impact on the culture, views, number of people viewing their content, etc., has been dramatically over to Netflix. And viewing this content, how hard is it to break people's patterns of behavior? I think perhaps it made sense for them to do so. Thoughts?
Go ahead.
You go ahead.
Okay, the word impact, yeah, because I think it's going to decrease their impact, but you don't see the numbers on Netflix.
He's blind. Can you see?
Mm-hmm.
I don't got a problem with him. He's a funny guy. I like this guy actually.
And contrast. So, but for sure, and then like YouTube is like it's more convenient. The convenience thing versus paying $20-something for Netflix, typing a password out to borrow your cousin's password, all the shit. You know what I'm saying?
Now, on cursory glance, you would think that this is just like overt suicide.
Okay. I forgot when I watched No Jump Out. I mostly want to hear Adam.
If you want to watch
twice, you pay for having the subscription to Netflix, and then you got to go to the tier that.
No, it's just like by paying, you have access to podcasts. But if you're on the ad-supported tier, I guess some content is not allowed. Okay. So you're basically limited to not being able to see the content, which is different than like in the past. Joe Rogan, Joe Budden, they both took their very, very popular podcasts and moved them over exclusively to some extent to Spotify. And it seemed like their fan base was strong enough that they actually were able to make a significant percentage of their fans go over to Spotify to listen to their content. That being said, a lot of...
No, that's where I disagree with him. So the Joe move is different. Well, it's the same, but it's not about... They were establishing... And I think the Breakfast Club could do it too. You just have to establish listening patterns. Hey, you used to go to Spotify for music. Now you go for Spotify for music, audiobooks, and podcasts. So they're just trying to change people's behavior.
A lot of people already have Spotify on their phones. So I don't think, I think it's kind of similar to Netflix in that sense. But Spotify is free. So people were able to just listen to ads and be able to listen to their favorite podcasts for free. Netflix does not have that free tier. And as much as like I would assume most of us have a Netflix account, not everybody does. And, $18 a month or whatever it is pretty significant to a lot of people out there.
Now, we know like Charlemagne is like definitely an iconic figure in this space. However, we'd be remiss to not say that the Breakfast Club has been on the decline for several years as far as cultural moments that really moved the needle and made an impact.
I think mostly because Charlemagne has just become a safer podcaster. He's not like trying to get these viral moments by doing crazy shit, like sniffing the seat or asking Post Malone what he's going to do for the BLM moment, which, those give you viral moments, but also sniffing the seat, probably not a great look for the average female guest. Being that confrontational with a person like Post Malone, probably not great for your relationship with him going forward. He's just become a lot safer in general.
Well, yeah, and also like not like crashing out on Lil Mama, making like a young girl cry or whatever, etc.
Yeah, he's trying to be more of the every day in order to kind of get that messaging across.
And I think that them not having the same, being this viewed as the same centralized hub, no matter how many publicists pay or how many like.
Wait, let me tell you. So. I know the Breakfast Club supposedly is off YouTube. Rory and Millie Mall is off YouTube? Oh, fuck. What's the name of their show? Thank God. Like, yo, thank God, man. Netflix, you did me a favor, man. Even if you had to pay them bums, get them out of here, man. Get them out of here. Okay.
Big people in power are going to put money behind something. It's not going to, the same guests aren't going to be there, and it's not going to have the same impact.
And this is the thing, is that on YouTube, we underrate YouTube's value as a discovery engine. And when I do a piece of content with Crip Mac when he is fresh out and it gets 800,000 views, or when Big Bang gets Young Thug's first interview out of prison where he talks for 3 hours or whatever, not only does that get like really, really pushed upon anyone subscribed to No Jumper, but it gets really pushed upon like anyone who even kind of watches that sort of content, you know? So it's like YouTube helps you to make these viral moments when you put content out. But let's say the Breakfast Club gets a huge, crazy viral moment like the Soulja Boy interview where he coined the Drake meme and all that kind of like, if they have a moment like that, yes, it's going to go viral on social media and everything, but is that really going to like drive people to Netflix? Like, is Netflix going to prioritize that content? Because I don't even see any content from people from like about podcasts. Like I look at Netflix a couple times a week. I don't feel like I've been recommended.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. They're not pushing the podcast. Again, I think they're making so much money with their own shows. By the way, Netflix is in an interesting position. They just have a shit ton of money that they could lose or use. They're not pushing. They're definitely like, they might have told Charlemagne and like Breakfast Club or whoever else came over in those deals, hey, we're pushing you guys with extra promotion. No, they're not. No, they're not. In reality, they don't even push their own shows really. Like, for example, they'll have a show that is a Netflix show, and if they just got a lease because they lease their titles, like if they didn't make it, they'll basically have a period where it's now on there. Like Dexter, they took off. I'm so mad they took Dexter off, but it was on there for a while. And the way it works is that whatever's performing on their charts, they don't just only try to push their shows. They're like, just stay on the app and watch whatever, my nigga. Yes, we do put our shows and we hope you watch our shit. But if you want to watch, I don't know, Training Day just went on there. If you want to watch Training Day, nigga, watch Training Day. So I don't think that they're incentivized to push people to podcasts. If anything, they're thinking like this. We just want to give you the option to not leave. So rather than say you would normally watch Netflix and then be like, hey, I'm going to go listen to my favorite podcast. Their idea is that, oh, just go to the podcast section. So treat us like the entire internet. Oh, you want news? Oh, just go to the news section. Hey, you want WWE? Go to the WWE section. Hey, you want sports or overall sports? You could go to our version of ESPN. I think that's their motto, but they're not trying to push and promote none of these things, right? They're not trying to change the listening behavior or the watching behavior of their audience already. They're just trying to give you reasons not to click off the app.
That content.
I haven't seen it once, and I'm on Netflix every day.
Yeah, and they have a lot of podcasts.
They do have a podcast section, though. It's just that it's not being promoted, in my opinion.
And they also have a pretty crowded amount of content. Like, they're only going to dedicate so many rows to podcasts. And, like, it's hard to choose a podcast when you're going to Netflix just looking for some, like, more.
I wonder if we could browse Netflix here without logging in. Anybody got a Netflix account that I could use? So the show's trending, right? Like War Machine, Bridgerton. Y'all be watching this stuff? I wish we could like just browse it. Yes, we can't.
Or high quality content.
Not to hate on like our own industry, but why would they allocate?
Yes, no, I agree with y'all. I believe Netflix is moving towards user-generated content. It's going to be UGC, that's user-generated content. It's what made TikTok its thing, right? Everybody's going to go towards user-generated content. It's because, remember, they're trying to compete with YouTube. If you take someone off YouTube, you want to compete with YouTube, right? You got to go to user-generated content, but they're going to separate it, though. They're not going to allow user-generated content to bleed in with their actual movies.
So much money for clearly like an antiquated form of digesting content.
What, podcasting?
Yeah. Like as far as like them using like because you have to have a catalog of episodes in order for them to want to put you to begin with, right? And so,
we're in the middle of the streaming wars. where everybody's got a streaming service from Disney Plus to Paramount Plus and Netflix, etc. And so from Netflix's perspective, how can they get more people to spend more time on Netflix and sign up? Because a lot of these platforms sort of feel like they're capped in terms of growth. Netflix is like the biggest one pretty much, but for them to like continue to grow, what are they going to do? Like and podcasting seems like a pretty logical choice. Now I think they had to pay like a lot of money to license these ones, but I could very easily see in the future a future where like every podcast is on Netflix the same way that like every podcast is on Spotify. And
Yeah, that's what he did. So like the Spotify motto is already there. Like why reinvent the wheel? Put it like this. My nigga, after Spotify paid me millions for the fucking podcast, when the deal was done, now you could be like Joe. Remember when Joe was like, hey, I'm taking my podcast off of there, right? But they don't give a fuck if you take it off of there. You know why? We already got all your user data already. We already got, and we already try to retain most of them for other shit anyway. So be petty and take it off because we're done paying you. Whatever. You know what they did? What they did with me? They were like, yo, hey, listen, we're just going to put you in like this really special like rate, and we're going to monetize your podcast just like we're monetizing everybody's podcast that's coming. So now Spotify, I think maybe, I don't know if y'all have to pay, but I didn't have to pay, but you can now publish your podcast everywhere through Spotify and they monetize it. What does that do? Which means, so now we publish through Spotify still. When we put up the streams through Spotify, when you put it up through Spotify could put ads on your shit that goes on Apple, that goes everywhere. So they have now turned themselves into a podcast distributor. You get what I'm saying? Which, to be honest, if they have ad inventory and whatever, it actually makes perfect sense. So now they got user-generated content for free. People are now listening to podcasts over at Spotify, and they become a publisher where they're putting out stuff elsewhere. I ain't gonna lie. They kind of, big W. They did their thing. Of course, I'm not mad about it.
Really weren't prior to them, taking on all of these big podcasts that they paid for a period of time, because they're not going to pay forever. That is only meant to last like a couple of years. So I feel like Breakfast Club, Rory and Mal, etc., they'll all come back to YouTube at a certain point once this chapter of Spotify spending all this money to get exclusivity of Netflix spending all this money to get access to podcasts. But I feel like it's going to be short-lived because Spotify doesn't cut those kind of deals very often anymore. I believe that they still have deals with like Call Her Daddy and.
Well, yeah, and Joe Rogan's back on YouTube.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah. So the latest deal they did with Joe Rogan, but remember, there's only one Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan has what I call the Howard Stern effect. They realize that they got, because when you're getting people to move over, only like 20% is gonna go. But having Joe Rogan still at Spotify, remember the strategy I told you? Because The Verge did an article on it. So people wanted Joe Rogan so bad, they would say, hey, if you want Joe Rogan, you got to buy ads for these other podcasts that we have on here too. So people would be like, all right, fine, fuck it. They would spend even up to like, say they were going to spend $1 million on ad buys for Joe Rogan's show. Basically, they were leveraged to spend $1.5 million on other shows and Joe Rogan, right? So $500,000 would go to the other shows. Now, after their new strategy where Spotify is now a podcast distributor, they're not all about having podcasts only there, because they have now taken out, remember, they acquired most of these companies, whether it was Anchor, this and third. They have now eliminated the need to have people exclusive. They are putting in ads, like in Joe Rogan's show, they could put ads in at Spotify, and even if you listen to him on Apple, they still make money. So who cares? Yes, he signed with y'all, which means y'all control his ads. And that's where the new sign-in of Joe Rogan is. It's not about exclusivity. So I'm pretty sure we could just go on YouTube and find him. So they switched their motto from exclusivity to, we just want to control your ads. Joe Rogan. Yeah, Joe Rogan should be on here. Yep, 33 minutes ago. Look. 33 minutes ago. 2 hours and 23 minutes. Is Joe Rogan still like killing it with the views like that still? Yeah. He used to do at least like 3 million. Like 2-3 million. He's still hitting a mill. This is still obviously his top podcast, but maybe it dwindled down a slight bit. Because usually, even a fucking bum going on Joe Rogan, it's a mill. I think Freddie Gibbs went on there and it was 1 million. Well, I don't know. What the fuck? 260. I don't know. Has his popularity dwindled? Joe Rogan. No, let's look up podcast charts Spotify. We could look that up. Let's look at the podcast chart. Yeah, he's still number one. He's still number one. Ooh, Call Her Daddy looked like they may have fell back a little bit. They're in the top 10. Theo Vaughn is he's always like really up there. Shout out to Theo Vaughn. Okay. Bill Simmons' podcast is up there too. Tim Dillon is really popular too. Okay. Ooh, Barstools has some joints up there. Oh, Candace Owens, 11. Yeah, Candace Owens is a beast. She's a beast. Let's look at it in the music section. Let's see what's popping there. Joe's probably number one, right? Oh, no, he's not. What the fuck? Yo, this is something I don't like that Spotify did. I really dislike this that Spotify did. When we go to a category, and this is the point of charts, bro, could you take out the niggas who aren't doing music commentary, or at least make a music commentary section? Because like, what is this? I don't know what's one song by Heartbeat. It's usually something that's either based around an album or something like that. It could be like a little whatever, but that's not really the number one music podcast. Like, that's gonna be Joe, right? So that's Joe. Like, look at this, directed by. Like, what is this? So I think this is okay. Joe's one. Rory and them, they're two. Good for them. Niggas actually listen to them, I guess, right? Trap Lil Ross is 3. Well, I'm skipping past people here, obviously. Alafoke Music is actually 10. Wow. Do you think it's Joe's audience? Now, this might just come off as hate, right? Do you think it's Joe's audience that just kind of watches Rory and Millie Mall? Has like a habit? Remember, they used to watch both of them on Spotify. Trap Lore, oh, damn. Is it the documentary stuff that kind of got Trap Lore being watched a lot? I don't know. No Jumper, okay. Drink Champs. What happened to Drink Champs, bro? What happened to Drink Champs? All right, our live stream just up here. What happened to $1 million worth of game though? Interesting. I gotta update the off the record page. We're not even on this bitch right now. I don't even think I put the ASAP Rocky interview on off the record, at least on Spotify. I don't even think I put it on there. I should. You want to log into my you want me to log into your Netflix? Send me the stuff. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. The podcast, that's why I keep saying to just only call things podcasts. I just call them platforms. But Gillian Wallow, I think they've changed what they got going on. $1 million worth of game. I feel like their whole thing is different now, though. Bro, when I look on their shit, they're promoting boxing matches. I see them with the Eagles. Right? Like, look.
You guys aren't able to actually see this. Now imagine you and your sister are growing up and you guys are fighting over
See? This is like some different stuff.
the last piece of cake and you just throwing punches right now. And that's what it looks like.
That's literally what's going on. And I'm telling you right now, Gilly is moving left, right, up, down, throwing them hands, leaning. He looking like.
Yeah, I think they have just expanded the brand of $1 million worth of game, and they're doing everything now. You get what I'm saying? Look, one's video game, the other one's they're playing
right away.
They're playing basketball.
Yeah, he's a rhythm guy.
He hot now.
He's a rhythm guy.
You figured it out?
What's that, 1-1? Comparison. No one really compares. Only like you get like the young guys, like all these GMs would be like, okay, this guy's like a Dylan Brooks, like a second rounder who plays hard.
You see what's going on?
Could play. We used to buy the tapes and then ride to them. I listen to Baron Davis. You know what I'm saying? I listen to the young kid Bridges in Charlotte. He get.
I don't know. Yeah, it is a little bit different, right?
Up next to this motherfucker. But wait a minute. And then we could just hop.
We at this restaurant, we run into this dude, and the dude was like, damn. And he said, I'm a bitch for this.
React to 5 K-Dot fans versus 1 Drake fan. Oh my God. That's the thing. I'm about to heat my food up, man. What is this?